Welcome back everyone to another episode of Wickscraft. If you remember from last episode, we just finished up the aqueduct, and I'm going to start this episode out giving it a little run while we talk about what are we going to be doing in this episode. So in this episode, I've got a lot planned. We're going to be doing a lot of redstone for a lot of these different buildings, and I'm also going to be putting in a little build in here at some point that's going to be kind of cool, I think, but also very heavily redstone intensive. As we sort of make our way to the other side of the aqueduct, you can see there's a few different routes you can take to kind of get to the end, but we're going to work our way over, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit about how the reward system works just to give you an idea of what these games are going to be like. But hopefully that episode sounds as fun as it does to you as it does to me. But we're starting to make a lot of progress on this thing. I know it's taking a little bit longer than we thought, but we are going to get it done, and it's going to happen soon. I do hope you guys enjoy the rest of this episode, but sit back, relax, and let's boogie. Alright, so you can see we have made it here to the end of the game, and we are going to go through this last little bit and drop down, and it's going to send us out the back here. Now obviously I didn't make it in time, I was too slow, so there wasn't a reward, but if you do make it in time, the reward's going to pop up right here, and we are going to go look at what those look like right now. So we're down here in the reward system for the aqueduct, just right below here, and we have some rewards that I've got kind of in these barrels right here. They're going to feed into the system. I've got a little extra storage here, so I can add some more later if I need to. But basically, the idea is that this game is a 3 difficulty out of 10. And that means you get tier 3 rewards. So the tier 3 rewards look like this. Basically, you're going to get between 1 and 15 drachma. Now remember, there's a difference between challenges and quests. In the challenges, you only get the drachma. And in the quest, you get the drachma plus the relic that you're going to need at the end of the level. But you can also get potentially some other little things sprinkled in there. So basically, all of these rewards have between, they have the relic, which is that little block there on the right. And they have between 0 and 15 drachma. And a couple of them, I think in here, actually have a couple little other items in there. But that's the idea. Basically, we've got these all sprinkled up in here. A lot of different combinations, different things you can get. It really just depends. You can run this a couple times, but remember, you will have to buy this quest to be able to play it. So that's going to be kind of how all of that works. A lot of the other levels and quests and challenges are going to have a similar process. We'll kind of go through all that probably all at once. At the end, when we kind of get everything set up and ready to go. But like I said, we're making some good progress over here. And today, what we're going to be working on is these 2 buildings in the middle right here. And that's going to be this one, which is the House of the Veti. And then that one over there, which is the Baz of Caracalla. So long story short, each of these buildings is going to have a challenge or quest in it. As it turns out, this building that I'm standing on right here is going to be the one with the challenge, which means that players can play it over and over again as much as they want to gain coins. And then that building over there is going to be one of the quests, the relic quests, where they'll be able to get a chance to get that relic for the end of the level. And that's going to be 2 out of 3 relics for this level. So what I'm going to do is hop in and start working on the redstone for these. And I've got a little bit of building to do on this one as well, just to kind of get things working. But then I will be able to come back and explain how these things are going to work. But hang tight for a couple minutes here, and hopefully we will be back with some functioning games very soon. Okay, so it's been a couple days now, and I've made some progress. And so I'm back over here at the House of the Veti again, and I've actually gotten this whole game ready to go. It's all set up. And I also added another building over here. So we're going to take a look at that stuff real quick, and then I will continue to work on the bathhouse and keep going there. Well, let's just go in, and I'll show you guys a little bit how this game works. So if we kind of walk in the front door here, you'll notice I have this little sign. If you get stuck, you can warp spawn and then come back. The reason for that is this game gets pretty complicated pretty fast, and you could get stuck in here. So I'm just warning all the players right there. I'm going to have a little book explaining everything to them, how all this works and everything. But basically, the idea is you press this button, and the game's going to start. And all these doors on the inside are going to open up, and this door out here is going to close. Now, I haven't actually set the timer yet for the length of the game. It's under here, so that was just for testing, basically. But the doors are going to stay open for about 4 minutes or so. And I did a bunch of testing on this to make sure that was the right timing and everything. And what happens is you can pick whatever way you want to go. There's 4 different ways you can go from here. 4 different rooms you can start in, basically. But the idea of the game is to get from this room all the way over to this room, which doesn't look that far, but there's a little bit of a complication to it. Houses like this would be more of like where a wealthy person lives, and they would have a bunch of different paintings and art all over the place. And so we're kind of playing off that here. So throughout all the different rooms, there's going to be lots of different paintings and stuff going on. And I'm going to give you guys a little example. I can't actually run in here and show you because it would give away the entire thing. But if I just really quick skip to one of the rooms, and I'll just kind of give you an idea of what is going on. Okay, so we are down here in the basement, basically. Another thing about Pompeii is that half the city is underground, but in this game, there's going to be an up and a down, and you have to at least go up once, and you have to at least go down once to be able to get from the first room to the last room, like I was talking about earlier. Okay, so there's a basement portion, and it looks a lot like this. Every room looks very similar to this room right here, and you saw a little something there when I went behind that painting, but the idea is that they will have to work their way through down here, and there's a bunch of different entrances in all the different rooms and everything, and you're gonna have to work your way through a bunch of rooms that look just like this through paintings and trying to remember the direction that you took. And so this is just an example. This is just one room to another room. I'm not going to tell you anything about where this is. It's totally random, one that I picked throughout here, but there's about 20 of these rooms underneath the House of the Veti. And so at some point the player is going to have to end up down here, and they're going to have to navigate their way through this and find a way to get out, find the fastest possible way to get out. Then they're going to have to find their way up to the upper floor at some point. So let me just zoop up there real quick and I'll show you guys that. All right, and we're upstairs now, and you can see this is another one of the rooms. A lot of rooms kind of like this upstairs. There's less rooms on the upper level, and they're a little bit different from each other. They're not all the same exactly, so it should be a little bit easier to navigate up here than it is down there. But I think this works pretty good. So for example, like if I go through this painting, it brings me into this room, if I go back, and there's stuff like that. There's another entrance in here. I'm not going to show you which one it is, because the players are going to have to figure that out. And then there's one other part to this build that I have created, and that is this little house over here. And so the players are going to have to go up, they're going to have to go down, and at some point within that journey, they're going to end up in this house. This house, I won't go inside too much, but basically there's some little mazes sort of inside this house. That was the downstairs, and then there's one upstairs as well. Basically, the players just have to get through this house. It's pretty easy, it's pretty linear. You kind of come in one way, you kind of leave a different way, and it depends on which way you chose at the start. And I'll take a little look around here. You can see we got some windows and stuff over here. The idea is not for them to be going in and outside the windows. I know you can technically fit like through here, but the idea is to stay within the house, within the game the whole time, unless obviously they get stuck in there and they need to just hop out and leave if the game has already ended. So that is how that game works. Obviously going to be a little bit of a brain twister. So I'm hoping that people will kind of come in here and give it a shot and have to try it a few times. It's free. It's free to play. It's not one of those ones you have to pay for. You just press a button and the game starts. So people can come in here and try it as many times as they want, find a way through, and then by the end of the game, hopefully they'll be able to get within that 4 minutes. If they get under 4 minutes, and I might switch up the times, but if they get under 4 minutes, they'll at least get some reward. It's between 10 and 30 drachma. Hopefully people will have to kind of learn the different routes in here, try and figure out which way is the fastest. There is a fastest way, and there's a bunch of other ways that are not as fast. And so it'll be interesting to see, how long it takes players to kind of come through here and figure out the different routes and figure out how this thing works. And then let's go over to the other side here. I just want to show you guys the end room. They'll come in here, they'll get to this point through a bunch of different possible ways, but once they get in here, all they have to do is just press this button, and that is going to get them their reward, and it's going to come shooting up right out here. But let's just do a quick look down. I won't show you anything that's going on over there, because that's all like part of the underground stuff. But this is the little system that I've created. Basically, all the system does is that when the game starts, it's going to fill up this dropper right here that ends up going up to the player. As the game progresses, there's a couple different timers in here, and it will slowly start taking items out of that dropper until the game is over. When the game is over, if the player has not pressed the win button, which is basically that one that's up in the middle room there, if the player hasn't pressed that button, all the items will just get drained out of this, and they'll get recycled back into this chest, and the whole thing will start over next time somebody presses the button. If the player makes it to the end before the game's over, there will still be some items left in here, and when they press the button, they're going to get a little sound, and then it's going to shoot out all the items that are in there and shoot them up to the player. But I really like this system. I think I'm probably going to end up using it on a couple of different games throughout here, and it works pretty good. So yeah, I think the idea of this game is solid. I think it's going to be a level 5 out of 10 difficulty. This one is, and so hopefully, you know, it's like players can kind of get through it. This is still level 1 that we're in. But the tier of difficulty on this is level 5. Once they have pressed the button and either gotten their reward or not, they can come out this door and either try again or go bang their head on the wall somewhere. Boom, so that's the House of the Veti. We have got it done. It's ready to go. So now I'm going to cross the street over here, and while we're at it, let's just take a little look here. Shorty was helping me out with some of these houses in between here. So we've got this little shack right here, looking very nice. Most of these are just for decoration, but there might be like a couple little Easter eggs I'm going to put in here as well. But there's that one. We got this one over here. You can come in here, kind of check it out. And then in the middle here, we've got a little park with a tree and a little waterfall, looking really nice. So thanks again. Huge shout out to Shorty. She actually also helped me build this pole building, which we're going to be doing next, and excavate this little area down here. So I've got it all planned out. Now I just need to fill everything with redstone and get it going. So I will be back here in just a couple minutes. But let's jump right back into another little time lapse, and we'll be back, and I'll show you guys what I've got for the Baths of Caracalla. Welcome back. I am now standing at the second relic quest and journey. This is the Baths of Caracalla. And if you guys don't remember, this is a bathhouse from ancient Rome. This is the entrance right here. And there's basically 2 different sides to this thing. So I think what we're going to do is go inside, and I'll show you guys around a little bit of the architecture, some of the decorations, whatever, and then I will explain to you how the game works. Okay, so we've just come through the front door here. There's a special lock and key system right here, so I kind of had to just break it and walk in. And the first thing that you'll notice in here is that there's 2 sets of doors right when you walk in. That is integral to the game, but I'll get to that in a minute. And we'll just do a quick little walk around here. So I just kind of put around some sort of random decorations with some pots and some things that you might find in a bathhouse, some towel looking things, some bookshelves, whatever, some vines growing on the roof, stuff like that. There's a couple other things you'll notice in here that do pertain to the game as we sort of walk through. As you can see back here, something like this. That is something that has to do with the game. And then as we sort of keep walking through, we also have these couple doors. There's one of these rooms on the other side as well. We'll get to that later. A couple baths throughout, and then I actually really like how this little curtain thing turned out. This is the pale hanging moss, and I've got that as they sort of enter these outer bath areas. I don't know. I think it works out. I think it works out good. Couple little nooks and crannies back in here. And that's all part of the functionality of the game. And then we can kind of come right back through here to the beginning. So, how does this game work? Well, I can't explain the exact process, but I will give you guys the general idea of how it works while I go through a trial run of this game myself. And I still have a little bit of balancing to do and some things to work out, a couple little bugs, but for the most part, it's working pretty good. So enjoy this little footage of me playing the game, and I'm going to try to explain the best I can how this game is supposed to work. So this game all starts when you walk in the door. When you throw in your item at the front door, a timer will begin and the game will start. The first thing that you'll need to do is start collecting what are called keys. Now there's keys that can be found on both sides of the baths throughout the game, and they open up the doors in the side rooms with the little key symbols. Once you get the keys, you're going to also want to be looking for other items that are going to be popping up around the outside of the baths. So the idea is that you use the key to open one of the side rooms, and once you get in there, there's 3 items in each room that need to be deposited in order to open up the doors in the middle. So you'll want to find the key, open the door, and then throw in the items that you find laying around on the outside. There's a total of 6 items, 3 on each side, and once all 6 items have been input in those outside 2 rooms, those 2 sets of doors at the front will open up, and you'll get one more item that's going to lead you on a final quest to get your relic. That quest consists of finding a few different items throughout the baths of Caracalla, throwing in your item and exchanging it for a different item until you finally find the copper pipe, which you can then throw in for your final reward, and you win the game. So, I've given this a couple tries, and it's a little bit tricky. Definitely going to take some effort from people to try and figure out and get all the way through. It is totally doable, though, but I do think it's going to take players a few tries, and I'll probably give them 3 to 5 tries. So difficulty level here supposed to be around a 5 as well, 4 or 5. It actually ended up probably being more like a 6. I think it'll be fine. I think everybody will be able to, get through here. If the timer runs out before the game is over, they're going to hear a little sound, doot, 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 something like that, and then they will have to exit the game. They will have lost. No amount of putting things in after that point will work, and so they'll have to just hit this button and leave the game and start over. And this game, since there's items on the ground, the other thing about this is that I do have a timer right here. This little light goes on when the game starts, and that means that you can't actually enter the game if the light is on. And that light stays on for about 5 minutes after the game ends for it to reset a little bit, and then all the items to despawn if there's any leftover items in there. So you can essentially play this one about every 5 minutes, but hopefully there's a little bit of strategy in here, so players kind of have to come out and be like, oh, which items were in which room, because you do have to kind of memorize that, right? You can't actually see one of the items through the door, so it's a little bit tricky. You might have to kind of memorize which side the item goes on, or if you start guessing, you're gonna run into issues. And there is actually a little pattern to it, so if you play this game enough, you might start to catch on and figure out sort of the order that things are going in and whatnot. But I do still think it's going to take some effort. And I actually really like how this game turned out. But while we're here, I guess I'll just do like a quick little spin through the redstone down here. I'm not going to explain any of this. This is some serious noodleage. But as far as redstone goes, it's pretty simple. It's really quite simple. The hardest thing was just kind of getting some of this stuff to fit next to each other, since certain things need to be popping up in different areas around the map, and you need to be throwing in your items in certain places and stuff like that. But it all worked out pretty good. Like I said, there's a couple little tweaks I think I'm going to make. I'm going to do a little bit of balancing, kind of run through this a couple times, make sure it's doable, and it's, sitting right around that 5, 6 out of 10 difficulty for all the players who are going to be coming through here. Okay, so this one took me quite a while to finish up. It's been about a week or so since I last talked with you guys. Big project here, but it's finally ready to go. And we can move on to the next build, which is going to be just right down this way. And as we kind of go over here, you'll notice there's a couple more buildings that have come in. Shorty's been helping me out. She built this little shack over here. And then she also helped out with these shops up here to the right. So you can see that we've got this little, it brings in a little pops of color in here. Like I said, this is going to be similar, it's mostly for decoration, but I do think I'm going to be able to put a little bit of functionality in here, maybe a couple Easter egg type things sprinkled throughout. So we'll work on that. But the next thing I'm going to be working on is going to go right here. You can see there's sort of this little empty space right here, and we've got it a little bit marked out. And this is going to be where you bring all of your relics at the very end to get your key to the next level and your reward for finishing level 1. But I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I don't know if I'm going to have time to get the redstone in, but let's go ahead and get this build up real quick, and then I will come back and we'll talk about it, and hopefully you guys enjoy this next little piece right here, because this is kind of a fun little build. Okay, there it is. This is the build I was talking about, and we'll just do a little 360 around it, but this build is the Ark of Constantine. I'll put a little picture on the screen for you here, just for reference. You see kind of nothing crazy in the back here, but it is sort of built into a mountainside, and that's for redstone reasons, actually, because I'm going to need to be putting something on top of this mountain, and I also need to have redstone underneath where the main portion of this is. So this building really is just kind of the entrance to the end of the level. So a little bit quick about the Ark of Constantine. It is actually in real life right next to the Colosseum, so this is actually pretty fitting that it's right next to it. And it was built for Emperor Constantine in like AD 300 something. Technically the real one actually has 3 different bays, but I just kind of simplified it here so we could kind of fit it in this mountainside. And the Ark was built after a big military battle, and the main purpose of the Ark was actually for victorious military personnel to basically walk through it in like a triumphant parade type thing. So I don't know, I think it works out pretty good that it's close to the Colosseum, and you can kind of like go to the Colosseum and then walk up here, and then it'd be like you're doing the thing back in the day. So anyways, that's the idea behind the Ark of the Constantine. It's kind of like a big triumphant victorious thing, which is perfect because it's the end of the level, so you're going to be celebrating in here anyways, and it's kind of like the last pass through that you have to do before you're done with level 1. So let's go ahead and head in here. I haven't decorated it super crazy, but I did want it to be a little bit different than sort of some of the other areas in level 1, being a little bit more rough and kind of broken down and tattered type look. This is going to be more of a clean, like pristine look in here. So basically I've got this half circle of a room where there's these 4 lights in the center here, and I'll talk about those in just a second. But yeah, it's basically, that's it. It's just this little staircase, and it comes down here, and you come on in when you have all 4 of your relics. And I just realized there's actually only 3 relics for this level, so I will just have to center these, and it will make it 3. Hold on, give me 1 second. And fixed. So anyways, there you go. We got these 3 lights on the wall. Each of them is going to correspond to one of the relics that you get from the game, and then at the very end, once you have all 3 collected, you'll run in here, throw them in, and then you need to put them all 3 in at the exact same time, and then your reward will come out. Now, I obviously haven't done any of the redstone for this yet. This is just sort of the shell. This is what it's going to look like on the inside, but I do have a little bit more redstone to do, but unfortunately we don't have time for that today. But I would say we did get a heck of a lot done today, so I don't know, I feel pretty good about it. I think this episode turned out well. We did lots of redstone today. We got the House of the Veti, the Baths of Caracalla, and the Ark of Constantine all rearing to go here. All I gotta do is throw in the redstone for this, which I already have designed. It'll be a quick little system. We're gonna be working on that next episode. So with that, if you guys would not mind, let me know what you think about this video in the comments section. Feel free to drop a little like and subscribe if you like what you see. But as always, make sure to take care, have some fun, and I'll see y'all next time.